from stampyourartout.com, and I'm here to share with you my outside the box ideas that I created with the Beyond the Horizon March 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! These kits are automatically delivered to me each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This month's kit contains supplies for making 9 beautiful greeting cards, 3 of 3 different designs. And these kits include a publication like this one with directions, full color illustrations, details about the kit, and a link to access a how-to video so you can assemble the cards or projects as shown. The kits also include inks and stamps that can be used again and again, even after the consumables are used up. This March kit included a Misty Moonlight colored ink pad, this exclusive stamp set, and an extra stamp set as a 9-year anniversary bonus. The kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these in the alternate projects I create for you today. You can find the items I used listed below and linked to my online store. You can also find links for learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook, where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects that you're going to see today. I received a large clear block in my first Paper Pumpkin kit to use with all my future stamps. That tool and my scissors are the only extra tools that I need to complete my kits as is. But you'll notice that I substitute that block for the ergonomic Stampin' Up! Blocks. I also use a larger version of the ink pad and some additional adhesive, such as my Stampin' Seal. You won't need these, but they are available products from Stampin' Up! And they're a bit easier and quicker for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. By the way, if you're looking for ideas for past kits, visit my website at stampyourartout.com. Click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu, then choose Recent or Older Posts. I've been creating and sharing alternates since March of 2013 when Paper Pumpkin first began. I'm excited to create, so let's get started. So I love the scenes that are on the fronts of these cards, and I thought it would be great if we could see that scenery on the front of the card and on the inside. So I decided to fold my card in the opposite direction and cut out a window. You could cut out a window with dies, like if you had like an oval die or a circle die or something. We're just going to use the trimmer. And we're going to trim 1 inch in on all 4 sides. So we're going to slice that far, about 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. Then we'll turn it and we'll do the same thing where we're starting about 1 inch away. You can get exact if you want to, but as long as you're close, it's going to be okay. Now on this one, I have to move this score line to the 1 inch mark, which will bring the edge of this piece here over to the 3 1/4 inch mark. And then we'll do it one more time where we bring this edge to the 1 inch. And don't throw away this piece because it could be used somewhere else. But now we have a window on the front of our card so we can see it when it's closed and when it's open. The next step is to add the sentiment for the inside of the card. Now I want to do this before I add any embellishments or anything like that because I don't want my card to be too bulky. So I'm going to open up my Misty Moonlight pad, and I'm using Thinking of You, but you have lots of sentiments to choose from in these 2 stamp sets. And we're going to put it right down here. Leaving you room around the edges if you wanted to write anything else, or you could write on the back side of your card. Next, we're going to position these 2 branch pieces like this. I thought this would be kind of fun. And you can see that we would add the glue dots along the underside of these outside branch pieces, or you could use multi-purpose liquid glue if you want to go a little bit faster. So once we flip this over, we just have to remember that this is the side that gets the adhesive. We'll do the same thing for this piece. Just kind of overlap them here. Next, I added one of the pale papaya ribbon pieces. I added a little bow down there, attached it with a couple glue dots. The tools that I'm using, by the way, we've got the snips, we've got the bone folder, and we've got the take your pick tool, which I think is better for adding these glue dots. I don't know why I didn't think to use that initially. I've also got a ribbon tied around this paper snips. I have two different scissors. I use one for cutting ribbon and the other one for cutting paper. Now let's go ahead and add these little guys. So pretty, so simple. You could do that for all three of those card bases to have scenery on the outside and on, the outside and the inside. I just love that look. Let's do the next card. Oops, my mistake. This is not a scenery card. So you have two different scenery style cards, which you could do that window look with. This one I thought we could do something a little different with though, although you could do the window if you want. But we're going to go ahead and cut right through this little section here. I'm just lining that up in the channel of my trimmer. I don't even know how far away it measures. Let's find out. It measures 1 5/8 inches. Okay, so we're going to cut 1 5/8 inches off. We're going to bring in our bone folder again. We're going to give this a good crease. And this piece is going to be added right back where it was, only adhered so that you see it on the inside and the outside, like that. Before we do that, let's go ahead and take some of the elements from the kit. I'm going to use these pieces here. This one will go on the inside along with these two pieces. I'm going to go ahead and connect these together. And again, you could use the glue dots in the kit, or you could use this multi-purpose liquid glue, which is a pretty darn quick way to add adhesive in small amounts. That's going to be added right in here, and it's going to stand out a lot more than it would if it were stuck right there. So let's go ahead and attach these pieces. We'll just line these edges up with the back side like that. And then this piece, we can go ahead and add seal adhesive, multi-purpose, or the glue dots in the kit because it's a little bit wider. And we'll just set that right against that edge. Now before we add our little sunshine, which is what I'm thinking that is, to the inside, we want to do some decorating through here. So we want to make sort of a separation strip, and this piece is not quite long enough to go across the whole thing. So we're going to cut it in half. You can eyeball that and cut it yourself with the paper snips, or you can take, I think it was 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. So 1.5 plus 1/4. There we go. 1 3/4. Or if you want to be exact like I just did, you could do it that way. Now, let's go ahead and adhere these pieces down. And we're bringing them right to the edge of that portion here. Same thing on this side, right to the edges, or the corner, I should say. Okay. Next, we're going to bring in some ribbon. And I know this is a lot of ribbon, so if you don't want to do this step, you don't have to. But I think the ribbon is so pretty. So we're going to take about, let's see, I've got 16 inches here of ribbon. We're going to start from the back side, wrap it around, tie it in a knot. And you can shift it over to the right or to the left, and you can shift it up or down if you haven't adhered it yet. I think I like it in this little spot here, but time will tell. That's going to go on next, and we want to stamp that with the word hello. I changed my mind. I'm shifting it over here because the ribbon is kind of pulling in a certain direction. Trimming the ends. Now, on the inside, you can see we now have this ribbon going across. So if we had been adding this first, it might not have fit. But now we can bring it a little closer to the score line here. We could even make it off center since the mountains are off to the right here. We could bring our sunshine over to the left. So cute. Okay. Last, we're going to bring in those dimensionals. We'll add a couple to the top. And we're just going to check here. Looks like if we put one right around in that spot there, and I think I'm just going to cut the edges. If we put one right in that spot there, then we won't go too far down and accidentally have adhesive coming off the bottom portion. I'm positioning this in the center. I'm also looking at the elements that are, drawn here. Like, I decided that I really like these little squiggly pieces here to be kind of even. So the points of my 1, 2, 3, 6-sided piece here are sort of going a little higher than I originally thought I was going to go. But I like that. There we go. So there's our hello card, placed to right on the inside. Let's add some embellishments. Ta-da! There's our second card. Now the thing that I like to do with the paper pumpkin kits is I like to take the elements that make up all of the different projects and divide them out into even more cards. Plus you have these gorgeous envelopes that are printed, so they become designer paper pieces. So we're going to use these envelopes as designer paper. We're going to bring in a pack of medium basic white envelopes. Actually need a little bit more than a pack. You need 24 plus 3, 27 of them. Because we're going to triple the cards in the kit. We're going to take 9 cards and turn them into 27. Then we'll need some card bases because we're going to be, we're going to be cutting into this stuff. Sorry, my cat is trying to get in the picture here. So we need 14, actually 13 and a half pieces of basic black 8.5 by 11 cardstock. Now, I'm not going to do all 27 cards for you, but I am going to do a third of those. So we're going to do 9 of them. What we're going to do is we're going to take 3 of the card bases from the kit and turn them into 9 cards. So we're tripling a portion of the kit. And then what you'll do is you'll just take and do each of those cards 3 more times if you'd like to triple the cards in the kit, copying the style that I've created. So let's go ahead and take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cardstock pieces here. And we're going to trim down a couple of them right now. So our cards are going to open up this way instead of this way. So what I want to do is put a score line down the middle of these 2 pieces at the 4 1/4 inch mark. I'll rotate it and then I'll slice it in half at 5 1/2 inches. And now I've got 2 card bases in the basic black color. Now the problem with basic black is that when you open it up, you need a place to write. So when we make these cards, we need to also think about having a little white insert or a light colored insert. We're going to start with this card base. We're going to trim right through the score line, and that is at 4¼ inches. And then we're going to cut this piece in half. This piece is 5½ inches. We're going to cut it at 2¾ inches. So now we have the insides for our cards, I should say. This piece here, we're going to cut into 2 decorative strips. So we want to eliminate some of this. We're going to trim right down here. We're going to trim 1/2 inch off on this side. Actually, you can go a little less than that. You might even be able to go up to the 3/8 inch mark there. That might work. Let's see. That does work. And then we'll do the same thing to this side, so 3/8 inch. And that leaves us with 3½ inches. 3½ cut in half. I'm sorry, I need to move this down. 3½ cut in half is 1¾ inches. So we'll just trim that right in half at the 1¾ inch mark. And now we have 2 pieces of scenery for the fronts of these 2 cards. These guys here could become sentiment strips. Probably not on this side because it's printed, but if you flip it over, you could use these sides here for that. We also have some decorative pieces, some strips here that I was going to, oops, that's the second one, that I was going to pull in for the cards. Now another supply item that we'll need for these cards is the Tuxedo black ink. Since we're using a black base, I thought it would be fitting to use black ink. You could go ahead and use the Misty Moonlight ink color from your kit, but this is what I want to do. All right, so we have our pieces. I thought it would be fun to take one of these strips and cut it down even further. So I'm going to grab a Post-it note or a sticky note. And remember, it's 3/8 inch. Now, we don't have to be exact here. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the lines that are on my trimmer, and I'm just kind of positioning this in between those lines to get a nice straight cut. Once that's on there, I can just slice right through it, and I've got 2 narrower pieces of cardstock that I can use as accents on the card. Then this one can get cut down, but I think because I'm not sure how long, I'm going to go ahead and stamp first, I think. So let's go ahead and bring in our black ink and our stamp. Off camera, I've stamped the congratulations, and I decided it was just fine if I had my G kind of go off the edge there. So on this side, I'm going to stamp a little note. And now I know where to separate the 2 pieces because I've stamped both my sentiments on there. Let's grab one of the scenes, and let's take these 2 pieces and connect them and turn them over and add some adhesive right through the middle. Now we can come and just separate them apart like that. We're going to position this piece where we want it to go. And then we'll lay the strip right next to it. Now I want the scenery to be up on dimensionals. Yes, I'm using the scraps or the edges. I like to do that. Make use of all of the edges of your dimensional sheets because that's adhesive too. Okay, then we'll take and put this right next to, but not completely next to, I should say. So we have a little bit of a black edge there. This one we'll do the same thing with. And now we can come in with our sentiment strips. Since these strips are very narrow, it's going to be best to add them with the edges of our dimensional sheets. And then these guys here, I'm just going to cut them each in half, but I'm going to do sort of a diagonal cut. And that way, they can be added to the card like so. And this piece can come right through the middle of them like that. And now what we'll do is just take and trim off the excess on all of those pieces. Now the last thing that I want to do, notice how this isn't connected here. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little glue dot under there. And that'll help hold it in place. So that previous card base made 2 cards. This one is going to make 2 cards. This one is going to make 2 cards. That's only 6. But remember, we still have the envelopes. We're going to make a card from each of those envelopes, and that will be 9 total. So for this card, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slice off the back side right through that score line. We'll cut it in half. So we have the pieces for the inside of the card. We're going to set up our card bases the same way, where we score at 4 1/4 inches this way, turn it, and trim at 5 1/2. Now I really like that decorative strip that we had coming through. So I think I want to do the same thing to this one. But this time I'm thinking that it would be really pretty to have that decorative strip have a little bit of patterning to it. So we're going to take this piece, which is 4 1/4 inches wide. We're going to cut it in half at 2 1/8 inches. And then we're going to cut a little strip off of each side. Let's cut it at 1/4 inch. That'll be pretty. So these two go together. We'll do another 1/4 inch on this one. And these two go together like that. Let's bring these strips, turn them over so that we can put adhesive along the back side. You could use the multi-purpose liquid glue or your glue dots that come in the kit. We'll separate these out and try to figure out what they go with again. You think this one was with this one? Yes, that looks right. And this one was paired up that way. Okay. So we'll come in and we'll add our strip. I think I'm going to do it about 1/4 inch away. I didn't measure on the last card either. I just kind of eyeballed it. And then I think we're going to add this flat because we're going to have a piece that's going to it's going to stick out in this direction from this piece here. And if we have that sticking up, it's going to be kind of loose and flimsy, and we don't want that to happen. Next, we're going to cut this branch, and we're going to cut it into 2 pieces that seem logical. It just doesn't look good if I cut it any other place. So I'm going to have one that's a little bit sparser. And we'll just add that right under that one, and this one will get added under this one. Now sentiment choice. So we can go back to the same ones, the congratulations, a little note. The thanks even fits in here, or the words, I will always be here for you. So you could put those on there, or because this kit comes with an extra stamp set, you really have a lot more choices. We're going to do time to celebrate and sending you birthday wishes, because I feel like this design is very festive. So let's go ahead and add those to these strips. Now this strip is the one that has the reddish color on the back side. So I sort of, held it in place where I thought it would go, shifted it, moved it a little bit, and realized that this branch is going to come right through the middle. So if I put dimensionals on the outsides of my little message here, I will be safe for slipping my leaf piece down in the middle. So now I can go ahead and take and add either the glue dots from the kit or just a little bit of adhesive from my multi-purpose liquid glue. Let's decorate this one up. And I'm not even squeezing this bottle, I'm just tapping it, and the glue is coming out in little tiny, almost microscopic dots. I'm being very frugal with my embellishments. You could get some embellishments from the online store. We have some iridescent rhinestones that would replace these really well if you wanted to add even more. But I want to make these last because we're making, what, 27 cards? So we've used up, if you think about it, 4 for these 2 sets of cards, 4 each, so that's 8. And if you multiply that by 3, that's 20, what is that, 24 of these. So yeah, so you'll have to decide if you want to invest in more embellishments or not. Let's do the next card. So for this one, same thing with the cutting. So I'm going back to the same measurements I did on the first card where I cut a 3/8 of an inch strip off each side. And now that leaves us with 3.5 inches. So we can cut at the 1 3/4 inch mark to divide these two in half. So far we've got these basic designs. I went a little chunkier on the side strips because I didn't need to use that extra white for anything. We're going to be using this piece here on the flip side, and we're going to cut it in half. It is 4 1/4 inches wide, so that leaves us with 2 1/8 inch. And then we're going to cut this piece in half too. This is just going to be a little decorative piece. It's a little over 3.5. So if we go right to the 1 3/4 inch mark, that's totally fine. Or if you want to get exact, you're going to go to the just a little over. And we'll go ahead and put those down. This piece here is also going to get added, and I thought it would be best if we would cut it in half this way. So we're going to turn it to its side, and we're just going to look at the measurements. It looks like it is 1/8 of an inch short on either side, so it is, what would that be, 1 3/4 inches? Yes, it's 1 3/4 inches, so we're going to cut it at 7/8 of an inch, but we want to make sure that this design is going straight up and down. Let's bring in that Post-it note also to help hold it. And for that one, we probably needed a nice sharp blade because I kind of mangled it a bit. Oopsie. That's okay. We'll just stick it a little bit lower on the card. I should have known that would happen. I create as I go on these videos. So you see my mistakes when they take place. I do kind of stop the video once in a while and say, okay, is this going to work? That I did not do for these pieces. It's quite all right though, because we're just going to have them sink a little bit lower underneath that white piece like that. Okay, so let's stamp sentiments on these. I think I'm going to go with I will always be here for you because these look like great cards that are just thinking of you type cards. I was going to make both of these the same way, but then I saw the point that was right here, and it's not ending on a point on that side. It's coming back up. So I think this will work where we just add them this way. And I think I'll bring it into the color so that the white sentiment piece stands out a bit more. And there are 2 more of our cards. Now we've done 6. Let's do the other 3 with those envelope pieces. So we have these items left, and this is what I paired everything up with. Let's see if we can create 3 more cards with these. So for the next 3 cards, you're going to need 1 1/2 pieces of the basic black cardstock. We're going to score in the opposite direction now. We're going to score at 5.5, and then we're going to cut at 4 1/4. So we have cards that open in this direction. And then we're going to take our envelopes, and you guys are going to think I'm wasting a little bit, and I'm so sorry. We're going to cut so that our piece is, so that we're going through our envelope and it's 4 inches wide. So if we have a 5 3/4 inch width here, we want to get rid of 1 3/4 inches. And so that is 7/8 of an inch on each side. We're going to look at this side of the trimmer, and we're going to go to that mark right before the 1 and trim. We'll do the same thing on the other side, right before the 1 and trim. Now what we have, I know, such a waste, right? It's such pretty paper. What we have now is this long piece. And this long piece has a section here that we can use for the inside of the card. So we're going to trim off right at the score line, actually maybe right before the score line. And we're going to trim on the other side of the score line. Sometimes with the envelopes, the score line is really, really strong, and it's hard to cut right on it. And I just changed out my trimming blade, but sometimes you get little frays and stuff like that. So if you trim right before or right after, you're good. And then we want to trim off this rounded portion here. So you can make it as skinny or wide as possible, as you want, really. I think I'm just going to cut mine at 3. Then what we have left over here is a 4 inch wide piece that we're going to cut into a couple pieces. Because I want an 1/8 of an inch border on the top, bottom, and sides, this piece could really just be 5 1/4 inches. But I'm going to do a little overlapping, so I'm going to cut at 5.5. And then I'm going to lay out what I want for my design. I'll use this as a guide here too. I want my grass in there, and notice I want the grass to be on the whole entire thing. So I have to have my paper cut as tall as the grass, which is about 3. Let's go ahead and do that at 4 inches. So let's cut a piece for our sky area, or our background here, which is about 4 inches. And we'll cut it away from that, see that score line that is through the envelope? We're going to have that on the busy side. It'll be less, it won't be seen as much. And that'll give us a little bit of space above here. So we'll cut at 4 inches. And then this one will get flipped over and added down here like that. Okay, the only other thing that we have left for that card is this sentiment strip piece. You can stamp on it whatever you wish. I think I'm going to do the word thanks. We haven't used that one yet. Now you could certainly have the yellow side on the inside of the card, and maybe I should have done that. That would have been pretty. I do like that dimensionals add an element of shadow to a card. So, so pretty. So again, bring it to the 7/8 inch mark. Do that on both sides. I think for this one, I'm going to have this on the inside of the card because it's light enough to write on. And it's so pretty. I'm regretting not doing that with the other one. So for this one, we're going to cut this branch right about there. So we have 1 branch, 2 branches, and those are going to come out from the top of this piece. This piece then, added to the front of our card, is going to look like that, which means we need our branch design at the bottom. It's probably going to be about the same. Although this, we can go up a little higher with that. Let's do about 2.5 inches for the green portion. And I ended up with the white side instead. I already put dimensionals on the back side of it, and so I have to sort of pry them up to get these leaves on here. So you may want to add your leaves before adding this piece. And here's the end result of that card. I decided to add a little rhinestone right on the exclamation mark to make it stand out more. The last of our 9 cards, I've already cut the envelope down for. Now, this is the piece, right? And you can either have the white side or the green side. Now, I decided that it would look best to not have both of these on the front, because this looks like green grass and this looks like snowy sky. So as somebody who lives in the weather of snow, you either want to have snow or you want to have summer. And the mountains, even though they're blue, at least one of them is, I think still looks great because it's more like a distant mountain. So we're going to add the pieces either like this, or, and with this on the inside, or we're going to add them like this with the white showing on the inside. I'll do both so that you can see what the end results look like. So the blue stands out a little bit more, but either way I think they're both very pretty. For those of you that are fans of Stampin' Up! Products and you get more than just the paper pumpkin kits, you may be aware that there is a suite of products from the January through June mini catalog in the New Horizons collection here. And that collection includes the On the Horizon stamp set, Horizon dies, and then these pebbles enamel shapes, the fun ribbons, and this beautiful paper. The beautiful paper coordinates really well, and so does this imagery here, with our current paper pumpkin kit. You can see that we have that watercolor wash design, similar to the card bases. And so if you run out of that kit and you want to continue to make cards with these lovely papers, you can get the New Horizons pack of designer paper. Now those papers coordinate with these colors here, and 3 of them also coordinate with the kit. So Misty Moonlight, Evening Evergreen, and Old Olive. We also have, in addition to those colors, we have Soft Succulent, Polished Pink, and Blackberry Bliss. So I thought I would make for you 2 more cards quickly using that bonus stamp set, the flowers here. Now I want to point out that these flowers are a larger stamp image, so you're going to need an E size block in order to hold them all. The D size, the free size that you get in your first paper pumpkin kit, isn't quite large enough. I'm going to use these 2 sheets here from the New Horizons paper, and we're going to use some white scrap. We're also going to be using the Polished Pink cardstock and the Misty Moonlight cardstock. So let's bring in Polished Pink ink, and we'll grab our really, really large, solid floral image. We're inking that up, and we're going to stamp it down. We're going to stamp it down twice. I'm using the Stampin' Pierce mat so that I get a nice even pressure underneath my photopolymer image, especially since I have solid images here. It's really great to have that extra cushion. So you can see the difference between the full ink color of the Polished Pink and stamped off or second generation. Now I'm going to take the other image. This is the one that stamps over the top of it to give it more, more of a 3D look or whatever. We're going to line everything up and we're going to stamp it down. Now I'm stamping it down onto the same amount of ink, so you'd think that it would blend in, but it actually does create darker lines very subtle, darker lines. You can see up close what that looks like. And if I go ahead and just stamp again with this one here, I can do the same thing on this piece here. So you get a real faint, darker look because you've got layering inks. Now, if you decide to do really light and then a darker one, you may not want to go with the exact same ink because the polished pink does stamp very lightly the second time. So you may want to do like coordinating colors or something, although that does look kind of pretty. Okay, next you're going to take and fussy cut. So you'll grab your paper snips, that is for cutting paper, and you'll cut these images out. Oh, one more thing is you can take your circle image that comes in the kit, and you can add a dark one, and actually here, let me stamp off. And then I meant to just go directly over here, and then you can have a light center on that flower. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. I'm going to cut about an 1/8, well, maybe more of a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. And now I'm going to cut my card bases. And my designer paper. I'm cutting my designer paper 4 inches wide by 5 1/4. And now I'm matching up the flowers. I think the lighter one looks best here and the darker one on this one. I'm going to bring in my stamp that says Best Wishes, my Misty Moonlight ink, stamp this down, grab my tailored tag punch, or you could just trim it, but it's nice to have a fun little shape. And I'm going to punch that out. Got a couple of those for my cards. Then what I did is I punched some leaf images with the bow punch from Old Olive and Soft Succulent cardstock. I'm going to curl some of the petals using this bone folder. And this is going to slip in like that. So these are going to be adhered straight down onto the card, but the Best Wishes is going to be popped up on dimensionals. So it's going to kind of pull this bottom flower up a bit, which means we want to curve it down a bit. These petals will go up. Do the same thing with this one here. These petals on the outer part of the larger flower will go up, and these petals will go down. So let's go ahead and add adhesive right behind the larger flowers. Pull those away for now. Slip this back in. And I'm just using the sentiment piece as a guide. I'm not placing that into the card yet. Now I'm adding 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch layers of basic white on the insides. And these are the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels that I was telling you about. If you look at them against the white background here, you can see that they're pretty similar. These have more of a purplish or darker tinge to them, but very similar. So we're going to add in some of these. And so I added the larger ones on the smallest flowers, and then the medium and the small in the center of the largest flower. And there are our 2 finished cards using our bonus stamp set, the New Horizons paper which coordinates, and some fun colors. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more. Want to give these paper pumpkin kits a try? They're just $23.50 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. And by clicking on my personalized link below and starting your subscription with me as your demonstrator, you'll have access to my exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas too. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. To access paper pumpkin kit ideas that I'll share in the future, be sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and my website, because I share even more each month in other special blog posts. In fact, click on my website link below so that you can access the visual supply list and view close-up photos of all of these cards that I shared with you today. What's in store next month? Celebrate the milestones in your life and in the lives of those you love with the Change is Beautiful Paper Pumpkin Kit. New beginnings, after all, are simply new adventures. Let your loved ones know that you'll be there to support them through all of life's chapters. This kit contains enough supplies to create 9 stunning cards with a unique folding technique. But of course, I'll show you how to make more than that, so make sure that you have an active subscription by April 10th. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.